There are a lot of games in the Sonic franchise that happen in an overarching loose timeline, which has led to the obvious theorizing of Sonic timelines. I want to take a stab at crafting a unique Sonic timeline because I love looking at Sonic lore, so trying to figure out when certain games happen is fun. I want to establish some rules before we get into this. And those are my rules. Get it? Got it? Good. Now, let's dive into this. The oldest known event in the Sonic games is revealed in Sonic Unleashed. Light and Dark Gaia reawaken every few million years in an event known as the Time of Awakening, in which Dark Gaia attempts to destroy the world and Light Gaia repairs it before putting Dark Gaia back to sleep inside Earth as well as itself. The last known cycle of this event is theorized by Professor Pickle to have happened tens of thousands of years ago, but for the sake of this timeline we're going to stop at 10,000. Sonic Frontiers shows an ancient alien race related to Chaos fleeing their homeworld that was destroyed by a being known as the End. They were in possession of the Chaos Emeralds, which led them to Earth due to the Master Emerald's calling. I'm speculating that they were called to Earth around the Time of Awakening to help in the Light Gaia vs Dark Gaia fight. Due to the advanced tech and knowledge that they possessed, the ancients helped build the shrines that Light Gaia used to contain Dark Gaia and restore the world. Sometime after that, the ancients relocated to a smaller set of islands known as the Starfall Islands and were soon almost completely wiped out. The next known event in Sonic's world is the arrival of the ancient Babylonians to Earth. They were an incredibly smart species that landed on Earth when their spaceship malfunctioned, almost causing a black hole. They crash landed on Earth, disconnecting the arcs from their ship, resulting in the arcs remaining in orbit and eventually falling to Earth over time. With the alien race stranded on Earth, they engaged in many crimes and invented innovative tech such as the Extreme Gear. Their deeds caused the gods to strip them of their power, separating them and stripping them of their memories of their heritage. Slowly, their history became the stuff of legends. Only a few of them managed to remember or rediscover their past and pass down those stories through generations to the group we know today as the Babylon Rogues. Around the same time, an ancient group known as the Fourth Great Civilization developed an advanced robot called the Gizoid that ended up wiping them out. I want to speculate that the Fourth Great Civilization was the last of the ancients who managed to survive the destruction that almost brought them to ruin. I believe that they relocated somewhere near the ancient Echidna tribes that would develop 1,000 years later. The ancients had extensive knowledge about machinery and the Chaos Emeralds, so it kinda lines up, but ultimately the civilization remains an unknown entity at this time. The Chaos incident caused by the Knuckles clan happens just about 1,000 years after the Babylonians arrived on Earth. Long story short, Tikal's father, power hungry and currently involved in a power struggle with an unknown other civilization, incurred the wrath of the water spirit Chaos, who evolved from one of the mysterious Chow creature living near the Emerald Shrine. Chaos, who took it upon itself to protect the shrine, is angered by the actions of Tikal's father, resulting in the destruction of an entire continent and almost a world. It was only stopped by Tikal, who used the power of the Master Emerald to seal Chaos inside of it, along with herself, and carved out a piece of land and lifting it into the sky, creating Angel Island. 50 years before Sonic's time, esteemed Professor Gerald Robotnik is tasked with creating an immortal life by the President of the United States. Gerald takes on this assignment in hopes of finding a cure for his granddaughter Maria, who has been afflicted with NIDS. When Gerald's ultimate creation, a hedgehog named Shadow, was near completion, the government became hesitant with the potential danger that Shadow could bring to the world and tried to shut the project down. Gerald met Black Doom, leader of the Black Arms, an alien race that travels past Earth every 50 years. With Black Doom's help, Gerald finishes creating Shadow the Hedgehog with the promise of delivering the 7 emeralds to the alien leader. Gerald was also in possession of the Gizoid. He offered it to the government to give himself more time to complete Shadow. Later on, Gunn invades the space colony, imprisoning Gerald and killing Maria, who led Shadow to an escape pod before her death. They locked Shadow away on Prison Island. Here's what the timeline looks like so far. Sega Sonic the Hedgehog starts with our main Hedgehog Sonic along with his friends Ray and Mighty getting captured by Dr. Eggman and escaping his imprisonment. This fateful encounter, in my opinion, is the one that sets off a series of events uncovering the secrets of the world through the actions of Sonic and Eggman. I put this game here because I like the idea of it being the first, or at least one of the first encounters between Eggman and Sonic before they take things up a notch. It also introduces Ray and Mighty, who seem to have a habit of being captured by Eggman. Sonic 1 starts with Eggman landing on South Island, a place known to be one of the many locations where the Chaos Emeralds can be found. Eggman terrorizes the island in search of these emeralds. Sonic hears about Eggman's plot and sets off on an adventure to stop him. Sonic 1 ends with Sonic restoring order to South Island. Sometime after the events of Sonic 1, Sonic visits a place called Never Lake to see Little Planet, a small planet that appears over the lake for once a month every year. A little girl named Amy Rose comes to Never Lake through a revelation of the cards. Her love for fortune telling leads her to Sonic. Eggman has set up shop on Little Planet, along with creating a new machine that will put Sonic's abilities to the test. After Sonic saves Amy and Little Planet from Eggman's clutches, he heads off and finds himself on Westside Island, another location known to house the emeralds. Sonic decides to stop here and rest, meeting Miles Prower, a two-tailed fox boy nicknamed Tails, who is often bullied for his twin tails. Sonic notices that Tails could keep up with him and lets him tag along. The two witness Eggman destroying Westside Island in search of the emeralds, and the events of Sonic 2 kick off. With another defeat at the hands of Sonic, Eggman's Death Egg crash lands on Angel Island, a mysterious floating island with a haunting past. The impact of the Death Egg causes the island to sink back to the sea. A rat echidna named Knuckles, the last remaining guardian of the Master Emerald, believes that something has happened with the Master Emerald and finds Eggman, who tells him that Sonic is after the emerald. Meanwhile, Sonic is relaxing on a beach somewhere when Tails finds him and tells him about a powerful chaos energy reading that was found on his radar, and the events of Sonic 3 take place. Side note here, Knuckles' story in Sonic 3 and K takes place after Sonic helps Knuckles regain the Master Emerald. Knuckles destroys the rest of Eggman's robot army, making Angel Island truly peaceful once again. I'm putting two games happening around the same time here, Tails' Adventure and Sonic Labyrinth. Both games feature the classic duo doing their own thing. Tails sets off discovering a new island, while Sonic gets his shoes stolen by Eggman and journeys through a labyrinth to get them back. After this, I have classic Sonic's perspective of Sonic Mania going here. A few months after the events of Sonic 3, an island rises from the depths of the Southern Sea due to the chaos energy of the Master Emerald causing tectonic movements during the events of Sonic 3. Knuckles is reminded of a story about an ancient civilization being wiped out and goes to investigate. Eggman finds out that this island has connections to Angel Island and aims to use the Chaos Rings in order to obtain both the Chaos Emeralds and the Master Emerald. Knuckles finds Espio the Chameleon stuck in one of Eggman's traps and rescues him. Two then free the rest of the Chaotix, all while fighting to stop the evil Doctor. Sometime after Knuckles' Chaotix, the main trio head to Flicky's Island after Eggman tries to use power of the birds to supercharge his machinery. Shorter story even shorter, Sonic rescues the Flickies and stops Eggman. I'll put the Sonic Drift games here. No reason other than it establishes that Sonic likes to drive a car every now and again. I also got Sonic the Fighters happening sometime after Sonic Drift 2. This is where my timeline introduces Team Hooligan, who are referenced in Sonic Mania. We'll throw Sonic R in here as well because why not? It doesn't contradict or add anything, so no harm in having it on the timeline. Sonic Mania and Classic Sonic's perspective of forces is up next. Sonic Mania's story implies that Sonic and Tails went to Angel Island to investigate a dimensional breach which Eggman's hard-boiled heavies find the source of in the Phantom Ruby. In Forces, Tails says that Classic Sonic is from another dimension, and the Japanese version says he's from another world. Having a second Classic Sonic around is so unnecessary. I'm not sure what they were cooking with that story, so I'm gonna headcanon that Sonic and Tails pick up a reading of a powerful gemstone. The hard-boiled heavies find it, and the stone begins to send Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles through different parts of time throughout the game, ultimately leading to Classic Sonic heading into the future where Sonic Forces takes place. Mania's Encore mode takes place after Classic Sonic returns from Forces. Next up is Sonic Pocket Adventure, which I believe acts as a bridge between the classic and modern era games, as the designs of the characters change mid-game. The next games I'm putting here are the Sonic 4 games. The US story says it takes place immediately after Sonic 3 and K, but the Japanese version says sometime after, so I'm placing them after Sonic Pocket Adventure. Eggman uses past creations such as Metal Sonic to defeat Sonic, but obviously fails. In episode 2, Eggman imprisons Little Planet once again. Sonic and Tails head off to stop him, and while it's never confirmed that they do free the planet, I'm assuming it happens off screen. Last game we got here before heading off into the modern era is Sonic Advance 1. I put it here as it does feature a mix of old and new zones. Its gameplay is also reminiscent of the classic games. Let's go over some of the games I didn't include. I didn't really care to put these games anywhere, and some of them contradict events from prior games or don't fit into narratives of future games. All the Sonic Blast and Sonic Chaos fans are probably mad at me for not putting them in. I apologize to all two of you. Knuckles' involvement in Triple Trouble also doesn't make much sense, because why would he fall for Eggman's lies about the emeralds again? In Adventure 1, it at least made some sense since it was about the Master Emerald this time. Okay, so luckily while I was editing, I caught my very stupid reasoning for why it makes more sense for Knuckles to believe Eggman in Sonic Adventure 1 as opposed to believing him in Sonic Triple Trouble. A better explanation would be, since Knuckles has never dealt with the Master Emerald exploding into a million pieces before, of course he would be more paranoid about the whereabouts of the Emerald Shards compared to whatever Sonic is doing with the Chaos Emeralds. Also, Sonic Adventure 1 takes place after a sizable time skip, and Knuckles has always been kind of a dumb guy. So for me, it's kind of funny that he would somehow forget that Dr. Eggman literally tried to take over his island way back in Sonic 3. I just think that's funny. It also kind of makes sense because he's dumb, like I said.
You stupid!
Tails' adventure could have happened, but his character arc was about how dependent he was on Sonic after being bullied, so I chose not to put it on my timeline. If anyone has these games in their own timelines, more power to you. Share it in the comments if you want. Here's what the timeline looks like so far. The modern timeline begins with Sonic Adventure. Eggman uncovers an ancient secret about a being named Chaos and sets a plan in motion to use Chaos for his personal gain. Throughout the story of Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Big, and Gamma all see visions of the past, showing how the Echidna clan came to ruin due to incurring the wrath of Chaos 3,000 years ago. The story ends with Sonic using the power of friendship to get Chaos to open his heart and live peacefully in spirit with Tikal. Alright, before we move on here, I have to add Sonic Shuffle to the list. I completely forgot about this game. Spoiler alert, I have Team Sonic Racing in my timeline here, and in one of the stages, I'm pretty sure there is a mural or like some carving on the wall of like Chaos and another being, and people have been speculating about what that other being is, but I think it's Void from Sonic Shuffle. The head shape looks a little too similar for me to believe otherwise. So yeah, Sonic Shuffle is going right in, right after Sonic Adventure 1. Oh, also Gamma is in this game, but if you could forget about his existence, that would be great.
Who?
Exactly. Now to the rest of the timeline. Eggman recovers the journals of his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, which leads to Eggman breaking into Prison Island and freeing the ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog, setting the events of Sonic Adventure 2 in motion. The fate of the space colony is revealed to Sonic and the gang towards the end of the story. Shadow, who originally wanted to destroy the world, has a change of heart when he remembers his promise to Maria, making the ultimate sacrifice to save humanity. Sometime after the events of Sonic Adventure 2, Eggman has one of his robots find Shadow and seal him away in one of Eggman's bases. I'm putting Advance 2 after Adventure 2. I originally had it placed before Adventure 2, but with the introduction of Cream and her mother, on top of the fact that Cream appears in the next game, I'm putting it here. Sonic Heroes sees 4 teams of 3 head off on separate adventures. Team Sonic tries to stop Eggman, Team Dark is also searching for Eggman as Shadow doesn't remember much about himself. Team Rose is looking for Sonic, who was framed for stealing Froggy and Chocola. Team Chaotix goes on a journey, completing tasks given to them by a mysterious person. The story ends with Metal Sonic revealing he was behind everything, gathering data so he could finally beat Sonic. Metal Sonic is defeated, and the 4 teams go their separate ways. The next game is Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow is told by Black Doom to deliver the emeralds to the alien. Before Shadow does so, Black Doom reveals his plan to enslave humanity, as well as telling Shadow of his origins. Once Shadow finds out the truth about his past, he defeats Black Doom. I made a video talking about a pathway that I personally think is the true route for the game. Check it out. A bunch of people in the comments also gave their own opinions and ideas about it. I got Sonic Battle taking place next. Shadow remembers the Professor and Maria in this game, so it couldn't have taken place before his own game as he didn't mention those two when he was discovered by Rouge in Eggman's base. The story of Sonic Battle starts with Eggman failing to get the Gizoid to work properly. Sonic and his friends manage to get the Gizoid, now named Emerald, to work, leading Eggman to eventually coming back and challenging the robot to a fight. Emerald goes haywire and is put down by Sonic. Eggman builds a new robot based on Emerald's data called Gemerald. Gemerald? Gemerald. In an experiment with chaos control, Eggman tears the world apart, and Sonic manages to find all his friends, stop Eggman and Gemerald, and repair the world with the use of the emeralds. Sonic Advance 3 ends with Tails repairing Gemerald. The robot currently lives with Cream and her mother Vanilla. Okay, things are about to get a little confusing here. The next game on my timeline is Sonic 06. The story of this game doesn't matter outside of Sonic visiting Soleanna during the Festival of the Sun, but what does matter is what happens with Blaze. Blaze in this game is supposedly from the future, but as we see in future games, it's just not the case. So what's the deal here? Let me put my theory cap on for this one. The Sonic 06 script states that Blaze is from the Soul Dimension, and the writer for Sonic 06, Shiro Maekawa, confirms that there is a connection between the Sonic Rush game and Sonic 06. But what is that connection exactly? Well, since Blaze is said to be from the Soul Dimension as part of her bio in Sonic 06, and the fact that she seems to leave Sonic's world in some way by the end of Silver's story, I'm going with the possibility that Blaze was always from the Soul Dimension, but was sent forward in time to Sonic's world to aid in stopping Solaris from reforming, as Solaris would pose as a major threat to her dimension. She technically completes this task by the end of Silver's story, and is taken back to the present day in her own dimension. Look, I know what I said just now sounded pretty dumb, but this is the only thing that makes sense to me. In future games, Silver and Blaze interact while mentioning feelings of familiarity with each other. We know that Blaze is from the Soul Dimension, so how the hell could she have familiar feelings about Silver if they never met, or aren't even from the same time period? My personal answer is the events of Sonic 06 did happen. Sonic and Blaze seem to regain specific memories about what they went through, so yeah, that's all I got on that. I know someone's gonna bring up the whole blue hedgehog thing, but the context of that word changes its meaning. So the word in Japanese can either mean blue or naive. So the Japanese word aoi can either mean blue or naive in this context. She regularly calls Silver naive in 06, so I'm leaning more towards that. I'm not debating a lick of this with anybody, by the way. This stunlocked me for weeks, and I'm not going through that again trying to correct anything I said here. My head's starting to hurt again, so let's just move on, please. Oh, before I actually move on, someone brought it to my attention that in a side mission in Shadow's story in 06, a gun agent says that it's been years since Shadow took the course to begin working with them. I doubt the validity of this, seeing as how before Shadow joined Gun, Sonic was 15. So if Shadow took the course years ago, it wouldn't make sense for Sonic to still be 15. but since the characters are ageless now, it's possible. I'm still not sure if I want to take this into consideration, seeing as how a ton of the early 3D Sonic games have translation issues. I'll compromise and say that at most, a year has passed between Sonic Battle and when Sonic visits Soliana. So Sonic Rivals 1 takes the next spot here, being the first actual meeting between Sonic and Silver. Eggman Nega is also introduced here as a descendant of Eggman. Sonic Rivals 1 finds Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, and Silver all on Onyx Island. Team Sonic look to rescue Amy and the Master Emerald that are trapped inside cards. Shadow aims to rescue Rouge, and Silver stops Eggman Nega. Rivals 2 takes place after Rivals 1, with Eggman Nega trying to power up an Ifrit from another dimension using the power of Chow. Sonic, Tails, Espio, Silver, Rouge, Knuckles, and Shadow all head off on their own quests, leading to all of them stopping the Ifrit. Sonic Rush takes place sometime after Rivals 2. Blaze ends up in Sonic's dimension after chasing Eggman, who stole the Soul Emeralds from her dimension. With the help of Sonic and his friends, Sonic and Blaze take on the Eggmen, defeating them and restoring order between their separate dimensions. The reason why I have Sonic Rivals before Sonic Rush here is because Shadow and Silver recognize that Eggman Nega has disguised himself as Eggman, but Sonic and Knuckles don't, even though by Meteor Base Eggman Nega reveals himself. This also happens again in Rivals 2. This carries over to Rush, where Sonic initially still believes that Eggman Nega is simply Eggman in a new outfit. Sonic Adventure Rush is next on the timeline. Sonic and Tails end up in Blaze's world this time, working with her and a new character Marine to stop the Eggmen from using the power of the Jeweled Scepter. I'm placing the Riders games here. To be honest, you could place them anywhere between Sonic 06 and Unleashed, including Free Riders. In the first two Riders games, Team Sonic meet the Babylon Rogues, and together, both groups learn about the ancient history of the Babylonians as mentioned back in the ancient timeline. Nothing of note happens in Free Riders, so I'm just sticking it here. Next up is Sonic and the Secret Rings. Sonic is pulled into the world of the Arabian Nights at the request of a genie named Shara, who wants Sonic to stop the Eraser Djinn. Sonic does so and returns to his world. I like to think that while Sonic is gone, Eggman had his massive fleet prepared to take over the world, so I have Sonic Unleashed happening right after Secret Rings. Similar to Advance 3, Eggman uses the power of the Emeralds to split the world apart, but this time he reawakens Dark Gaia, starting a new time of awakening prematurely. Dark Gaia's power turns Sonic into a werehog. In this form, Sonic finds Light Gaia, and together the two travel across the world, restoring it piece by piece, before Light Gaia seals himself back inside Earth, alongside Dark Gaia. I have Sonic and the Black Knight happening right after Unleashed, as I imagine Sonic goes to take Amy out on a date after saving the world. Sonic is called to the world of King Arthur to slay the king himself. With Merlina's help he does so, and also stops Merlina from using dark magic to make the world infinite. Cheers her up with a speech about living life before being sent back to his own world to get pressed by Amy. Sonic Colors happen sometime after Black Knight. Sonic and Tails go to investigate the giant space amusement park built by Eggman. They find out he's using the power of an alien race known as Wisps to fuel the park, and they stop him. I want to clarify here. The DS version of Colors has a much more involved plot than the Wii version, and even Iizuka says that the plot of Sonic Colors DS offers more insight to the story, so Colors DS is the canon version of the game in my opinion. It's also the better version, but we're not going to get into that right now. Sonic Generations takes place sometime after Colors. Sonic and his friends celebrate his birthday, but all get trapped in white space by the Time Eater, a beast Eggman gained control of. Short story even shorter, Sonic meets his younger self, and the two stop their respective Eggmen, restoring the timeline. In this game, Blaze remembers Crisis City, which adds to my theory that over time, Sonic and Blaze seem to remember more and more about Sonic 06. The next game on the timeline is Sonic Lost World. Lost World sees Sonic and Eggman fighting once again, but finding themselves having to work together after Sonic accidentally gives the Deadly Six power to disobey Eggman and suck the life out of Sonic's planet. Not too long before the events of Sonic Forces, Team Dark looked to take out one of Eggman's facilities, but run into Infinite, who's promptly beaten by Shadow. 1 month later, Eggman launches his most destructive plan yet. Sonic arrives to stop him but is quickly put down by Infinite. Sonic is locked up by Eggman, Tails is saved by Classic Sonic, and the events of Sonic Forces transpire, ending with the defeat of Eggman and Infinite. Classic Sonic returns to his time, and modern Sonic heads off in search of a new adventure. I figured I'd add the Sonic IDW comics to my timeline. In Sonic Frontiers, some of the characters in the comics are pretty much confirmed to be in the game universe, and I remember reading something where Iizuka said he'd like to have a connection between the canon of the comics and the games. The aftermath of Sonic Forces is played out in the comics, so I think it makes sense to have them as a part of the Sonic timeline. An alien Tanuki named Dodon Paw invites Sonic and the gang to race in the team-based Grand Prix. The events of Sonic Team Racing transpire, ending with Sonic and his friends saving Dodon Paw from Final Fortress before it crashes. Everybody except Eggman and his lackeys return to finish the Grand Prix. Sonic references the time he fought Silver in Soliana in the Japanese version of this game, which continues to back up my theory that Sonic and Blaze specifically recall more memories of Sonic 06 over time. I'll put the IDW comics back in here, as Team Sonic Racing could have happened off screen between any of the comics story arcs. Latest known events in the Sonic timeline is in Sonic Frontiers. Eggman and his AI creation, Sage, are inside cyberspace, which is housed on the Starfall Islands. Eggman wants to use the information of the Ancients for his own power. Team Sonic also end up on the Starfall Islands after unfortunate circumstances, leading to Sonic rescuing his friends, uncovering the mystery of the Starfall Islands, and saving the day. The rest of Team Sonic express their desires to go on their own journeys by the end of the story. Their next set of adventures are currently unknown. Finally, after all that, this is what my Sonic timeline looks like. Let's talk about some of the modern era games I didn't include. Sonic Chronicles. Moving on, I didn't put any of the mobile games here. It didn't really make any sense to. It would just bloat the timeline unnecessarily. Anyway, that's my timeline. I tried to make sure that I connected events from the past to their respective games instead of just running down every game. Let me know what you think. Before I go, I want to give a bit of a channel update. I've enjoyed making all these theory videos about Sonic lore and some of the specific games, but I want to do other stuff. This doesn't mean that I won't make Sonic videos anymore. I just don't want to do only Sonic stuff. I had a fun time reviewing Sonic Frontiers, so I want to do more reviews for other games. And not just games, manga, anime, etc. I'm a big fan of professional wrestling as well, and I want to make some more videos about that stuff too. With that being said, shout out to y'all for real. The support has been and always will be greatly appreciated. To those of you who are new, go check out my other videos and stick around for what I got coming out next. That's all I got for now. Peace.